In 2024, a new game called Gray Zone Warfare dropped on Steam, and people were hyping it up like crazy. They said it was gonna be the next big extraction shooter, a Tarkov killer, the ultimate hardcore experience, but let's be honest, it wasn't really any of that. Like everyone else, I picked it up at launch, played for around 6 or 7 hours, and then I just stopped. And let me tell you, I wasn't alone. Most of the player base just kind of vanished after a few sessions. I'm not entirely sure why I stopped playing though. It wasn't necessarily bad, it just felt really unfinished, kind of empty, and let's be honest, boring. However, they've been patching the game consistently and even dropped a major update called Winds of War recently. Also, a bunch of you in the comments told me it's worth another shot, so I figured, why not? I jumped straight back in to see how it feels. Okay, let's make a character first. Why is my guy so shiny? Did he come from a Diddy party or something? So, I accidentally created Tony Soprano's cousin.
Man, there he is.
Good enough, let's go. Before you can actually start playing, you have two big choices to make. First, do you want PvP or PvE? PvP will have hostile players and PvE is only against the AI. This time I picked PvE because I'm honestly just burnt out on sweaty games lately. Does that mean I'm getting old? Second, you have to pick your faction. As you can see, Gray Zone has a humongous map. Like, I'm not joking, it's literally gigantic. Each faction has its own base in a different corner of this massive map. Mithras in the south, Crimson Shield in the northwest, and Lemang in the northeast. Faction choice doesn't affect your gear or quests at all. It mainly decides where you spawn and who you can fight in PvP. But since I'm playing the baby mode, it doesn't really matter, because the factions cannot hurt each other anyway. So I just picked this one, because it sounded pretty cool, I guess, and I was ready to drop in.
Joe Biden.
Alright, so this is our base. It's the only place on the map where we are actually safe. There are guards everywhere, it's surrounded by mines, it's basically a fortress. Here we can manage our inventory, stash loot, gear up, sell stuff to traders, and of course pick up quests. The traders are actually pretty important. Each one specializes in certain gear. They also have their own quest lines, and as you complete quests, you unlock better items in their shops. Speaking of quests, most of them are pretty straightforward, like investigate an area, kill a certain number of enemies, or find items. You know, the classic MMO stuff. A few times I actually felt like I was playing a classic WoW, to be honest. But I'm not complaining, because I just simply cannot play these games without quests. I'm sorry, but I need a task. I'm too used to the corporate life, I guess. Now let's talk about the world itself. Like I said, Gray Zone's map is huge, and there are absolutely no loading screens between zones. You can just walk from one side to the other if you want, which is pretty cool if you ask me, especially after the loading screen simulator called Escape from Tarkov. You can also call in a helicopter to take you to different landing zones if you want. But unfortunately, there is a limited number of birds per server, and sometimes they are all busy, which can be super annoying. Personally, I didn't even use the chopper that much in the first few hours. If you've seen my Vietcong videos, you already know that I freaking love games with jungle settings. So I just walked everywhere to soak in the atmosphere. And honestly, it's gorgeous. I'm not joking. Sometimes it's actually jaw-dropping. The dense jungle, the rice fields, the remote villages, it's all there and it looks fantastic. I'm pretty sure they also tweaked the weather since the last time I played, because it feels a lot more realistic. The mist rolling in, rain hitting the buildings, man, just listen. But hold on, let's not forget that this is a tactical shooter. Once we leave the base, no matter how beautiful the world is, it's also super dangerous. Enemies are scattered all over the map. Villages, outposts, gas stations, whatever you can imagine. Checking corners and taking it slow is crucial in this game, because trust me, if you're not careful, this is gonna happen a lot. I do think they improved the AI a lot since last year. They seem more aggressive, they flank more, and man, they can spot you from hundreds of meters away. Okay, maybe that's a bit too much. But sadly, it still feels a bit inconsistent. Sometimes they aim like my grandma and can hit me for minutes. But other times they immediately headshot me through a bush. So yeah, there is still room to improve. Okay, so what happens when the AI is on crack and actually kills you? This is one thing that really sets Grayzone apart from other extraction shooters, like Tarkov. In PvE, you can just go back to your body and pick up all your gear. There is technically a timer on how long your body stays, but I've never run into that. In PvP, enemies can loot your body, but even then it's way less punishing, because let's be real, they usually won't take everything, so you will almost always recover at least some of your loot. In addition, I never felt broke or desperate for gear in this game. Not sure how, but I always had plenty of money and stuff. Probably because I was doing a lot of quests, actually. I even left my body a few times because I was just too lazy to go back. But yeah, this might be a completely different experience in PvP. But I think this makes Grayzone way more approachable for players who don't want super hardcore punishment. Even if you enjoy single-player shooters, like myself, this game could be fun. Another thing I really enjoyed is that even in PvE, I wasn't alone. I kept seeing other players from my faction running around. We can team up with them, help each other, or just have a chat. Honestly, I love that.
Hi. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Where are you headed?
I'm going on a loop run. If you want to join me? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
The whole experience feels less lonely, and the jungle suddenly wasn't that scary anymore, and I could even touch them. This is why Grayzone feels more like a co-op sandbox, and I think that's a really cool and unique design choice. So yeah, I think from all that you can pretty much see the gameplay loop now. Pick up some quests at base, gear up, travel to objectives, fight the AI, loot if you want, and then return to base or keep going. And now, the big question, what do I think? During the 10 hours I played Grayzone this week, I honestly had a blast. I love the slower paced tactical firefights, I loved exploring the jungle and soaking in the atmosphere, and meeting other players just made it feel alive. Wait. After all this, you're probably thinking Grayzone is perfect and that I'm just glazing it. But no, unfortunately, it's far from perfect. My first big issue is that looting and exploration still feel unrewarding. I have to admit, there has been an improvement since last year, because the jungle and areas feel less empty. But it still feels like, other than the main cities and villages, it's just not really worth wandering into the jungle, because all you will find is trees. Mostly. I know it's not possible to add something to every square meter, but maybe a few secret stashes, hidden buildings, or NPCs would be awesome. I would also love to see some wild animals roaming around in the jungle. That would spice up the gameplay too. The only animals I could find were dead cows. Poor guys. In addition, I still think the loot is pretty underwhelming. Sorry, but I had to say it. One of the main reasons I played Stalker and Tarkov so much was because of all the little gizmos you could find, like batteries, wires, random junk. It doesn't matter. I didn't even care if it was useful or not. It was just fun searching every cabinet and finding something interesting. Damn, I think I might be a hoarder. But I went through so many buildings in Grayzone, and the best thing I could find was a silver watch. Most of the loot is just purely functional, like bags, food, drinks, which honestly isn't that exciting. But since we are still in early access, I'm hoping this will be improved in the future. My second issue is that the game can get repetitive pretty quickly. The quests just aren't that interesting at the moment. As I said, it often feels like I'm playing playing classic WoW, like kill 10 bandits, go to this location, bring something back, and so on. To be fair, they did improve things with the latest update, by letting you turn in quests without having to go all the way back to base, which saved me so much time. Thank you for that. Okay, one last thing I really have to mention is performance. It's honestly pretty awful, but I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of expecting that, because the game runs on Unreal Engine, and when you combine that with this massive open world, it's not exactly a recipe for 200 frames. I have to say it's somewhat better than last year, but I was still usually around 50 FPS on medium settings, which is not great. And in some areas it would tank all the way down into the 20s or even the teens, which is just insane. I really think they need to start focusing on optimization, because I can see a lot of players leaving the game just because of that. Alright, now that you've seen the good side and the bad side, let me sum up my thoughts. I think Gray Zone Warfare has a solid foundation. I'm also glad people have stopped comparing it to Tarkov or other extraction shooters, because it has its own thing. It feels like a new genre entirely, and that's something I actually really enjoy. Of course, there is still a lot to improve, but I do appreciate that the devs seem to be listening to feedback and making real improvements. I love the updated weather system, the changes to quest hand-ins, and the fact that they even added capturable bases. That must be a game changer in PvP. I genuinely think that they can turn this game into something unique. And you know me, I love unique games, so Gray Zone will always have a place in my heart. Just please start working on optimization. If you're into tactical, hardcore shooters, I think it's worth giving Gray Zone a try. Even if you're not into PvP, just play the PvE mode. Chill and explore, have fun. And if you do decide to jump in, let me know. Maybe we can team up and do some questing together. Don't forget to join our Discord if you want to have a chat or play some games with us. And if you like this kind of content, please consider dropping a like or subscribing. I would really appreciate it. We are so close to 10k subs. And once we get there, I'm gonna do a huge giveaway with a lot of games and whatever you can imagine. So stay tuned. We also have memberships now if you would like to support the channel even more. And if you do join, thank you so much. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.